I can't lie. Okay, it's all right. It's okay. We're here. We're here, people.
Here we are.
It's just, you know what it is? It's the crazy energy. That's what it is. I had to meditate tonight, so like I'm gonna have to meditate again just to, because when I was talking to you about the super shopping,
right?
I came in and I finally sat down and my mind was racing. I said, "This is not my energy." I'm like,
it's not.
I had to sage. I had to do like some deep, intense meditation. So you guys say hey as you guys come in first and foremost. We're going to get, I know we're a little late. It's okay. Sandy, go get fixed. But we are here, you guys. And before we get to this, I want to say something just because I had that observation. So you guys, if you're feeling really anxious and panicked, because I had to go like super grocery shopping today because everybody's panicking right now. Which is understandable. I'm just saying this is, so if you feel like that and you're normally not like that and you're like, why am I panicking? Just recognize that it's probably not your energy and you need to, cleanse it. So meditation, like I have a big sage smudge stick, like in lavender. So all over. Okay. So you guys, take care of your energy first and foremost. The sooner we can all like come to a level of, I don't want to say rational thought, but just being able to discern. It's going to be all right, you guys. So, all right. I'm like, I'll just do it without the intro paper and it'll be okay. And every time I do it without it, I don't do it right. So, all right, you guys, say hey as you guys come in. If you catch us on the replay, #replay. And if you love the show like I do, because I love it so much, you guys, please share this show for me so that I can continue bringing awesome women onto this platform and sharing stories. And also you guys doing panel shows now because that panel show was so well received and the women loved it. So you guys, not only we're going to do story shows, we're going to do panel shows as well. So, which I think is really needed right now because it's wonderful to see other points of view and see where everybody's at right now. So I think this is a good way to bring like a 360-degree view essentially to whatever is going on in the collective at this moment. So without further ado, I'm going to drop into my intro. As you guys come in, say hey, and then I'm going to introduce my guest, which I'm so excited. You're not on your way to London this time.
Yeah. I'm here.
Oh, all right. So you guys, hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Table, the table where I invite some super badass tough women like Sandy here to take a seat, join in on the conversation, and share her amazing story. At TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live life authentically, free from fear, confident in who they are, and empowered as fuck to go out and get whatever success looks like to them. All right? So I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want as the woman they were created to be. And women who own their stories so that other women can embrace and own theirs as well, because as we all know, when you give yourself permission to own any piece of you, you give somebody else permission in the same breath. And I will have that memorized one day. All right, you guys. So I am so excited to introduce my guest tonight. And one day I'm going to have your aunt on this show, whether she likes it or not.
Yes, she needs to.
She's going to come on here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you guys to my guest, the owner of Sass and Frass and one of the most awesome photographers in the world. Sandy Williams, you all.
Hello.
Yes, I'm going to get an applause thing, like, you know, when people come up. Yeah. Okay, so, Sandy, if you will tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do and who do you serve?
Who? I serve myself. Is that wrong? I am Sandy Williams. My business is Sass and Frass Photography. I am an international photographer. I specialize primarily in portraiture, and but I've branched out a bit into several different other areas of photography. But that's basically it in a little tiny nutshell.
All right, awesome. So I'm gonna share something real quick, you guys. I have someone that I really want to watch this episode, which is why I am. She is another photographer, and she wanted to see your episode the last time, and I was like, I gotta make sure that I get her on here when you guys. So Becky says hello, ladies.
Hi, Becky.
All right, so this is the fun part, and I get to remember bits and pieces like when we talked originally. So your story is like a really fun and winding one.
Yeah.
So if you will tell everybody, this is the deep dive. How did you where did your journey start to get you to where you are now?
Oh boy. All right. So if we go way far back, my love of photography came when I was about 4 years old. My grandmother put a camera in my hands and said, go outside, take some photos, busy yourself. The first thing I ever took a photo of, well, on a Minolta camera, which is this tiny little thing, were tomato plants. And I was obsessed with looking through the lens and seeing the details of the tomato plants up close, closer than I could see with my own eyes, and seeing the details and hearing the clicks of the camera. And I became very, very, very much in love with the mechanics of the actual camera. And I played with cameras for quite a while, on and off, kind of doing photos of people here, doing photos of things there. Or I met a good girlfriend who loved the camera as well. And so we would get together and we would do lots of different photography projects, or days where we would just go venture out and take photos together. And what I loved about that in particular was our pictures were never the same, even if we were in the same space. And so I started to learn that we had different eyes and people saw things differently and missed a lot of things as well, in going about. And so I, interestingly enough, was going to venture down a path of photography for schooling when I got to the college age of things, and all of the photography classes were full. And so my advisor said, I'll just put you in the next thing available. We'll get you back into photography, as soon as it's open next semester or whatever. And I said, okay, great. Put me in the next thing available. Well, she chose alphabetically the next thing available, which was psychology. And so I wound up, did you know this? I wound up taking a psychology class and falling completely in love with the psychology of the brain. And I went on a 9-year break from photography for the most part, studying psychology and neurobiology and all things neuroscience. During that time, I kind of dabbled in the photography here and there. When people would ask me to do things, I would do it. And I kept being called to that creative side. It was a really big, yes, you're good at the science. Yes, this is what you love. But I kept being called to the creative side until at one point, I was in a situation that demanded I make a decision very quickly. And it was, you're either going to take all of your experience with photography and jump in and start your business, or you're going to stay in a pretty rough situation and finish your master's degree in neurobiology. And I said, nope, I'm going to go for photography. And I jumped headlong into the depths of business ownership.
And I think that's funny, that you started in photography and then you ended up in psychology of all things, because you talk about looking at things through the lens. And when we think about psychology, really it's just another way of us looking through a lens, essentially.
Yep.
And have you found that, correlating links between how we view ourselves, how we view things through lens in psychology and photography as well? Are there coordinating things that you find you come across in photography as far as studying people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and having a strong base in psychology, I'm able to go in and kind of really gauge where people are and where their energy is and what they need from me in order to have them more relaxed and have them more open for receiving their image to be captured, you know what I mean? Which is kind of a thing, because some people get really nervous about having their picture taken or really anxious. And if I can go in there and make them feel calmer on account of the fact that I kind of understand where they are mentally, it works,
So what was the real pivot where you're like, okay, I'm definitely going to take that deep dive? Because you talked about I took the deep dive. So what is the pivot that pushed you into a deep dive? Because I think a lot of people really struggle with taking that deep dive. I know we talk about, take the leap and you'll figure it out on the way down, but most people really don't want to take the leap because it's really scary. So what was the thing that pushed you into the leap?
Okay. So the thing that pushed me into the leap, and a lot of you women will understand this, I was in a horrendous relationship. And it was a matter of get out or stay and be miserable. And I said, I've got this skill and I've got this camera and I've got this ability and I have enough gumption and enough badassery to just fake it until I make it. And so that's when I jumped in. And the funny story about jumping in that I think I told you, and if I'm getting ahead, you can stop me. But
whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. The funny thing is, the day that I decided to jump headlong into the photography, I decided at the same time that I was going to move out of my situation, take my 3 children and move out of my situation, take this business and just run with it. And when I did that, all I had on the books for that month was 1 wedding. And I thought, all right, well, we've got 30 days to figure everything else out. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. And, I'm doing the background stuff and I'm building a website and I'm building a brand and I'm doing all of these things, getting, everything that you think of that has to do with business ownership. I'm making a logo and I'm making business cards and I'm making emails and all these things. All the things are happening. And then the wedding comes and I'm like, oh my gosh, you haven't marketed, you haven't networked, you have no other jobs. Well, you've still got this wedding. So just go do the wedding and we'll figure everything else out. And the wedding was toward the end of the month. It was around the 20th of the month. And so I go and I do the wedding and I'm like, well, at least we'll get paid for this wedding and everything will be fine and you'll have the money. They didn't pay. So I had a solid 10 to 11 days to sort out then payment situations, which we kind of think of in business like that is the most important thing, right? We're doing what we love. We need to get paid. But for some reason, it never even clicked that I had to have real specific money situations set up so that I would avoid being not paid. And so anyway, I went through and got all situated, and obviously I survived, and I was still never late on a bill. So I was very, very proud of myself.
And I think that you talk about having to be prepared, like we have to prepare for those stuff. A lot of people really neglect that point, and I don't think it's consciously, because I did that too, but we go so long and we do all the things. So the emails and then you get to it and you're like, okay, it's time, you get a client or something and you're like, oh crap, how do I get them to pay me now? Right. A pay processor didn't even come up for me until like it was time to start getting clients. I was like, oh yeah, like if you don't do it,
exactly. Well, I think it's because we're following our passion. And for me, I say all the time, I don't ever work. I just play with a camera and people, and so it never really clicked in that this was, so I mean, it did eventually click in, obviously, that this was your moneymaker. So get it together, but not in the beginning. I was like, no, I'm just doing this. I love it. It's so cool. I'm spending all this time doing this and nobody's paying me, but I'm okay,
Well, I think that happens a lot in business. And Angela says, hello.
Hi.
I think that happens especially with us service-based entrepreneurs or the people who are just really out here and we're doing something we love and that brings us joy.
Right.
Especially, coaching, photography, all that, that's the creatives out there and you're getting to do something you love. And oftentimes what happens is we forget that we also have to wear the CEO hat and we have to wear the hat that makes sure, that balance of, because the creative is the feminine side and you're like, yes,
yeah.
And the masculine's like, yeah, but we got to pay bills still, honey. Like,
yeah,
it's got to happen. Don't worry, So I think for a lot of us, it takes a little while to walk into that because that's a whole different mixing of mindsets.
Right.
And I have to ask, because you have the psychology background. So have you ever come across something like that, like in psychology, where they talk about when you're moving into something like a new territory, like entrepreneurship, where people really struggle with that stepping into the business owner side of their business? Like, I just want to serve people and, do what I love. And this is my passion. But it's like, well, yeah, but in order to fulfill your passion, you got to pay bills.
Right. So there's a big left brain, right brain situation going on there, where the left brain is super responsible for that logical side, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the creative side, which is the right side of the brain that is just all kinds of whimsical. And typically speaking, we're either super right-brained or we're super left-brained. And it's just a matter of, you have to remember, you have to maybe go into it, talk to somebody who's been through it so that you've got, all the little details that you have to sort out before you actually launch fully into the situation. But yeah, there's definitely a science to it that, we're doing our creative work and our right brain's just taken over. And that's such a big playground of creativity and wonder and happiness that we kind of just forget about that left side, unless you're super trained to be there, which we are now because we've been in it for so long. So now we're like, I see somebody come into this business and they're whimsical and up and creative. And I'm like, all right, you also have to think about this. And here are the tools,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you were in that last phase where you're like, okay, well, I really have to get paid, to between starting to get paid and take it serious as a business? What were those things that you had to go through to get to that point?
There was a lot of technicalities, first of all, which I sorted quickly once I didn't get paid. I was like, oh, I got to sort these technicalities. So it was a matter of finding the best, the best payment system, the best way I wanted to be paid, the quickest, the fastest, the best for my clients. Lots of research there, which was great. But then there was also the aspect that I hadn't necessarily considered fully yet, which was, am I getting paid appropriately? And that was a little bit more tricky. That was a little bit more of an emotional step for me because I felt like I was doing something that I loved so much that I didn't need to get paid a whole ton of money. But then when I started realizing it was a superior product, stepping into that phase of, oh, I actually deserve to be paid appropriately for this. That was probably a lot harder than sorting out the logistics of a payment plan or of a payment company. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was tough.
Well, and if you will, dive into what that was, because this is something I deal with, and this is something I see a lot of people deal with, especially women, and it's really that lack of self-worth and believing that we are worthy of getting paid what we actually deserve for our time and our energy.
Right. And what happened with me, I was pretty fortunate in this regard. I was maybe a year or two into my business and I was making it. I was making enough money to survive and to thrive. But I was working a lot, and I mean a lot, probably 15 shoots in a weekend, just exhausting myself and then sitting down and working all week long editing and then networking and marketing. And I was exhausting myself. It was crazy. And then one day a lady called me and said that she wanted me to do her professional headshots. And this is the day that she wanted to do them. Did I have an opening? And I said, yes. And we meet up and we wind up spending 3 hours together doing her professional headshots. At the end of it, she says, how much do I owe you? I told her the nominal fee that I had come up with for these headshot sessions. And she looked at me and she said no. And she wrote me a check for 6 times the amount that I had asked for. And I got this check and I looked at her and I said, what are you doing? This is way more than generous. And she said, you're worth way more than you're asking for. And she told me, and she said, I want you to go home and I want you to increase your rates to this level. And I didn't have the confidence yet. I was scared to death. I mean, everything was still riding on me getting these photo shoots and me, at the price that they were, it was kind of a struggle. And she put forth the very, very, very true wisdom, which is when you value yourself appropriately, you draw in the appropriate people to value you similarly. And so I took a leap of faith and I increased my rates significantly, but not up to where she had said I should. And almost immediately my client base picked up. I was drawing in clients that didn't mind paying for the higher quality service. I was then being able to see the distinctions between those just starting out that didn't necessarily have the same skill set or the same equipment, and why I was more valuable from a technical standpoint, not only from a technical standpoint, but also from a finalized product standpoint. And so I was lucky. I found out later that she, in particular, this woman that I did her headshots for, happened to be a business coach, and her job that she created for herself was finding women, or people, I should say, but she specialized with women, finding women who were not doing what they loved, and instead helping them find out what their actual passion is, and explaining to them and teaching them and coaching them through how to make that their business and their moneymaker. And I'd spent 3 hours with her doing this session and had no idea. And she was like watching me the entire time. Obviously, this is your passion. Obviously, this is where you need to go. So I'm going to coach you through this. And she did. And it was fantastic.
I always find it funny that the universe knows exactly what you need at all times. So
yeah.
I just need to know if this is good. And then you get someone that goes, oh,
Yeah, it is.
And Angela said, Jennifer says, hey, my beautiful.
Hey.
Oh, I love it. Angela's next. But Jennifer, I am like sending you so many good vibes. Jennifer's in San Francisco, where they're that shelter-in-place lockdown right now.
Wow.
Lots of good vibes.
Sending lots of love, darling.
Yes. And Angela says, so true. It really is. I think a lot of times we don't value our own worth. And we really go through that internal struggle. And I can't speak for anybody else. That's why I usually use my examples, because it's like I can't speak for anybody else truly in this world. I can speak for
right.
That was a one that I really struggled with in the beginning, and one that we talk a little bit about, but not really like how do you actually like work through that. We talk about everybody going through it. It's like just be happy and positive. It's like no, you really got to work.
You really have to work on it. You really do.
And Angela says, I found out the same way and my business exploded. Yes. Angela, it's funny. We talk about the universe being like this great reminder. Angela always happens to be the great reminder that the universe has sent to me all the time. It's like, don't forget how friggin' awesome you are, damn it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, calm down. All right. All right, cool.
All right, I got it.
You need that. You need that. That's why I always tell people, man, just be that somebody for somebody else, because I can go back, especially on these shows, and every woman or every person that I've talked to in general always has that one person that like changed it for them. That was like, okay, this, and it hits. It's funny because you can have a million other people tell you the same message, and then that one person hits and you're like, oh yeah,
that makes sense. Right.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have too many of those epiphanies because then I'll have other people who've told me, they're like, funny, I think I might have told you the same thing not too long ago.
You're like, yeah, but you weren't this person. Sorry about that.
So I have to ask, and I was lucky to get to hear a lot of your story. So what was it that pivoted you into international photography? Because I don't think that there is a whole tremendous amount of people that can really say that they're a published international photographer.
Woo, yeah. So ever since I was really little, I've wanted to travel the world. I've never wanted to be held down to one space. I have kids, so I have to be held down to one space at this point, but I've always just wanted to travel. I wanted to see everything. Once my business got up and running, how this happened, and I'll just step it back a little bit. I had a client here in Richmond, Virginia, who was a dear client, and she told me, I am devastated to tell you I have to move to Atlanta, Georgia. And I was like, oh. And she goes, and I don't know, we have to find a new photographer. This is horrible. I'm so sad. And she called me in to have lunch with me to tell me this. So obviously I was valuable to her. So I said, all right, well, why don't I just go with you, to Atlanta? When you need a photographer, I'll come down to Atlanta. And she was like, wait a minute, you'll do that? And I said, well, this is what we'll do. I said, I'll set it up so that you get a little discounted rate if you get X amount of people to book with me that same weekend. And I'll come down, I'll stay with you for a couple days. I'll do the other shoots. I'll do your shoot and I'll just go home. And she was like, this is brilliant. I'm so excited. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So we did it the first time. It was super successful. And then all of a sudden I had a client based in Atlanta, because then all of a sudden, everybody that I photographed for that weekend had told their friends, this is who it is. Their friends are calling saying, when are you coming back? I was like, oh my gosh. So then I'm there suddenly several weekends out of a year in Atlanta, Georgia. Then I started to think, okay, wait a second. Atlanta wasn't my choice. This was my client's choice. It was actually her husband's job's choice. if I wanted to go somewhere, where would I go? And at this point, I believe is when I said, get your passport because you're getting ready to go international. You're going to go photograph elsewhere. And at some point around that time, somebody came to me and asked me if I would travel to Thailand and do some photography work out there on a whole expeditious journey. And I didn't even hesitate. I said, yes, absolutely, I'll go. And I just got my passport and I'd never left the country. And it was this opportunity that fell into my lap. They had a free ticket to Thailand and said, you're just going to have to take care of coming on back yourself. But I was like, I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. So I went over to Thailand. That was my daughter. Sorry. Hi.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm like, so I go over to Thailand and I shoot and I tour, and I fell in love with the travel aspect and figuring out different culture and different language and seeing a whole new space. And I said, this is what I'm going to do forever. I'm going to travel. So getting the international gigs was proved in the beginning was a little bit more difficult because first of all, you need to know people in other countries, which I did, but it was kind of one of those things that how do you say, I'm coming to your country and I'm going to photograph for you, so I kind of, now I do that because I have all the confidence in the world. I'm coming and I'm going to photograph you and we're going to do all this. But after that and kind of getting the taste for it, I believe the next time I shot internationally, I went down and I shot in Mexico and Belize. That was more for a tourism situation. And then I went over to England and did some photos for my partner's family, which was super cool. And then, and then it just started going crazy. It was like, I set up a client. Well, then I did a lot of national client bases in different cities that I wanted to be in. So Seattle, Portland, Miami, and then, New York was a big one, New York, New Jersey. And then just most recently I got picked up in four international trips for work that are supposed to be coming up shortly. So they've been a little postponed, but putting me in Ecuador, Puerto Rico, Greece, and where's the other one? Somewhere, anyway. I'll figure it out between now and then. But yeah.
All of a sudden you'll probably do like what I do is all of a sudden you'll be in there like, aha! Yes. Yeah. When I do that, they're like, are you okay? I'm like, I just remembered what I have to remember. Okay.
If any of my clients are seeing this and you know which country I'm supposed to be in, I apologize. I assure you it's on the books. I'm just a little frazzled at the moment. That's all.
So
you'll be there.
Yes, don't worry. It will be okay. So what has been your favorite? So you talk about looking through the lens. This is why I love doing this show and stuff. So I always have to ask when people have had these really awesome experiences, what has been your favorite shoot thus far?
Ooh. Oh. Okay. So a couple of things come to mind first. Probably, and some people that know me, if they're seeing this, are going to have a little bit of an issue with me saying this. I'm going to say it was my most challenging shoot. And it was a project that I picked up for a local company where we were going to be photographing. They came to me and they said, how this all worked out was one day I needed a portfolio for a very diverse group of people that wanted to hire me as an economic development photographer. And that is photography for small businesses to help promote the businesses through creative arts. And they wanted to hire me to do it, but they needed a portfolio from me that was super diverse. So I spent several days just going out, taking pictures of whatever I thought was awesome all over the city. And I did everything from architecture to cupcakes. And as the cupcake situation went, I went into this little bakery and said, I just need a photo of a cupcake for this portfolio that I'm working on. Do you guys mind if I take a picture of one of your cupcakes? And they said, it was really artsy, beautiful cupcakes. And they said, that's totally fine. they helped me. They were sweet. They were loving. They gave me the cupcakes at the end of it. Just tag us on Instagram. Everything's good. See you later. Thanks for using our artwork, you know, that kind of thing. I was like, great. And then fast forward like 6 months later, well, I got the economic development photographer job, which was awesome. And then 6 months later, I'm standing in line at a cafe and my girlfriend is behind the register and she says, hey, Sandy, do you know this person? She's the owner of blah, blah, blah bakery. And I said, well, oh yeah, I did a photo of one of your cupcakes that landed me this sweet job up in Northern Virginia. And she said, you did? And I said, yeah, let me show you. And I show her the picture that I took that I submitted to this gallery. And she said, I want you to do all of my cupcakes. And I said, oh, all right, that's cool. And she's like, well, we're gonna have a meeting about this. And I said, no, it's fine. I'll do it. It's good. Turns out there was 182 flavors. I said, wow.
I want to have you do all my cupcakes. I'm like, oh, it's not that simple.
Right. And so then she says, and so then as if that wasn't complicated enough, I decide to take the project on and do 5 different shots of every single flavor. So I took it on in a big way. Now, I will say it was my most favorite because it was I had the most creative freedom. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted with whatever they had, any ingredients I wanted to play with, if I wanted to sling chocolate across the room, I could. If I wanted to have someone throwing blackberries at a table, I could. I several times throughout the shoot because we did it in the lobby of the bakery. It took us 3 months to complete the project. And I would do it while clients were coming in and out, customers. And I would involve the kids. The kids would come in to get their cupcake and I'd have them take photos, or I'd have them take one of the kids took a bite of a cupcake and that was one of the photos. You know, it became extremely interactive. It became extremely creative. It was by far the hardest shoot I've ever done in my life, on account of but I'll tell you this, every one of those girls at Pearl's Bakery in Richmond, Virginia, yes, I did. Every one of those girls on the staff came through, and guys, came through, and we worked as a team, and nobody ever got mad. Nobody ever got frustrated. Everybody just kept going. We just kept going. We kept going. And I could not believe, usually you're working that close with a bunch of people, so many hours, so many days for so long, something in a high stress situation, something's going to go bust, and nothing ever did. I was so proud of our whole team for that whole project. It was really cool. So I'd say that was probably my favorite, my most challenging and my favorite.
So I want to ask this because this is a question that I don't get to talk to many photographers, but I know that the reason that I love photography, even though it's not like what I do, I just love the idea of seeing other people in ways that they don't see themselves. So I have to ask you, what is your favorite thing about viewing people through that lens? Like, what is the absolute favorite thing that you love about being a photographer?
Oh my gosh, I love eliciting true reactions. I love seeing people. One of my editors, who's a dear friend of mine as well, she came in to work for me once business got to that point, right? She came in to work for me as an editor, and she would I would go and I'd do the shoots and I'd give her the stuff, and she would say, you know, and I never thought of this. She'd say, what's really amazing is I can start looking at your images from the beginning. It's on time order, right? And see that everybody's a little shy or a little concerned or a little timid. And she said, by the end of every single one of those shoots, they're vibrant and they're happy and they're laughing and they're excited. And I knew it in my head somewhere that's kind of how, they start off kind of quiet and shy and they come out. And she was seeing it consistently through every single one. And it started to become something that I then was looking forward to doing, and seeing somebody and seeing these quiet little children, or even, as it turns out, some of us adults are concerned about being photographed, and seeing the timidness and figuring out what it is that I can do to elicit a true happy response or a true surprise response or a true anything, you know. In some cases, you know, at like a wedding when the mom is dancing with her son, and it's looking through the lens and seeing that emotion that has to come with you know, dancing with your son at his wedding, or whatever the case may be. So it's really finding that the true self of the subject that I get to look at and that I get to find, and the challenge of it is beautiful. I love it. And then being able to successfully do it is like the biggest reward in the world.
Like, oh, look, I did it. It made it happen.
Look, they're happy and beautiful. And every time, I am telling you, it happened today with a client. A client messaged me today and said to me, how did you make me look that good? And there was no edits on this person's face. There was nothing. It was just literally, this is what you look like when you're happy. That's what you look like. And it's like people almost don't know. And I love being the one that can get in there and make it happen.
Well, we're so fixated on our own lens and the way we see ourselves through our lens that we have to have those people that go, no, like, this is really like you.
Yeah.
Everything's down and you don't have all the stuff on you. This is who you are.
Yeah.
At least the way we see you. So
Right.
this is something I'm like, the whole time you've been talking, I'm kind of thinking like, what has been your favorite reaction? And as far as the photo shoot goes.
Oh boy. Wait, during a photo shoot, or
just ultimately like your favorite reaction of any photo shoot that you've ever done, like the ultimate reaction?
Okay. So my favorite, one of them, and that I might qualify this afterward with a different one that's actually a little bit different. But one of my favorites was, it was a boudoir shoot, and a woman came to me and said, I want to do a Valentine's shoot for my husband. She was a little larger than she would want to be for this photo shoot. And I said, I don't want you to worry about that. And she told me that she had a severe case of chicken pox when she was little. And she had a lot of marks on her body from them. And she was particularly concerned about these. And so I went in knowing this in advance, and I shot super soft. She had these unbelievable green eyes and she was like a light-skinned Black woman, and these green eyes, and she just had this gorgeous hair. And I focused just on these aspects of her that I loved and that weren't what she didn't love. And so I do my best for this boudoir shoot and wind up sending her gallery. And typically I send the galleries, and people might send a little email back, or they might, send a text, or they might whatever. Well, this girl calls, and I was like, oh gosh, she doesn't like them. Something's wrong. She's calling. So I answered the phone, and she was in tears. And I was like, oh God, honey, are you okay? I'm like, what can I do? What's going on? Just please explain to me. And she said, I never knew I was that beautiful. And I was like, oh God, thank goodness. But she was in tears, and it was probably one of the first times that I remember having such a dramatic response to a piece of art that I created. One of the, and this isn't necessarily a client's reaction to a photo shoot, but it would be my own reaction to a photo shoot, was I did these photos for this family, mom and dad with 5 boys, very intense, very crazy, very all over the place. And I didn't think that any photos really turned out to my degree of perfection. And I gave them the photos, and they, email me back saying, these are great. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet you. Hope we get to see you again. But didn't contact me for another 2.5 years. And they contacted me 2.5 years later and say, can you come to our house and do a Christmas shoot? Our entire family is going to be here the week of Christmas. Can you pick a day and come out? And I said, oh, sure, absolutely. We'd love to see you guys again. So I go out, I get to their house, and I walk in the front door, I turn the corner, and there, larger than life, is this canvas of one of the photos from their photo shoot, with the mom and dad sitting on the grass in front of me, and the boys jumping all around them. And I saw it and I gasped and immediately started sobbing because I had never seen my stuff that big anywhere. I didn't know that anybody felt that strongly about it to put something big like that up. I mean, it was kind of, it was my own very crazy, hilarious reaction to me. I mean, I just started sobbing. She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I've never seen this. This is crazy." I mean, to see something that I created as art on a wall, like, it was weird.
So actually, this is where I get to turn this. So tell everybody now, coming towards the end of your story, what this turned into as far as making art out of your photography.
Ooh. My photography has turned from, I know exactly.
I remember. See, I remember.
I know. I'm like, it's funny that you should say this. Photography for me had always, for a period of time, had been something as a means, right? It was something I'm good at, something that people love, something that's making me money, something that's making me successful. And then all of the sudden, and I'm trying to remember at what point it started to really, really, really switch. But it stopped being a situation where it was, you're going to do this photo shoot, you're going to be with these people, you're going to create these things. And it started becoming, I know exactly what it was actually. I hope Laura's watching. It started to become a situation where it was art. It was colors. I was seeing things. And what happened, it was actually unbeknownst to me, and it was my assistant, my editor, coming to me saying, "I love what you did with the background and how you matched this." And I was like, "What did I do?" And she did it. She told me once, and I was like, "Oh, that's a weird coincidence. I can't believe that I didn't even think about that, how this was that and this was that." And then she pointed it out again, the next photo shoot. "Well, you did it here again. You did this." And it kept happening where she was saying, you know, you're picking this background and you're cropping it this way and you're doing this and this color is matching that. And I genuinely don't remember consciously thinking it. And then when she pointed it out, it was so consistent that I realized it had changed from taking photos of people's faces to making these pieces of art that included the nature around us. Because I'm an on-site photographer. I like natural light. I like all the natural things, flowers, leaves, gates outside, horses, animals, whatever. And then it was at that point, and she kept pointing these things out, that I said, "Oh, this is different. I'm now making a piece of art, not just taking a photo of whatever person or whatever situation or whatever thing." And at that point is when I started to get really, really excited about these photo shoots. Every single time I'd show up at these photo shoots, maybe I'd never met these people before in my life. And I'd look at them and I'd see the color of their eyes or the color of their hair or what they were wearing. And I'd think immediately, I got to take them to this wall. I got to take them to this gate. I got to take them to this thing because it's all going to come together. Or there's this bush over there that has these brilliant red berries on it, and it needs to bring out the red in her lips, or whatever the case may be. And it turned so quickly and so fiercely into this art project. And so now every single client is this fantastic art project for me. And it changes it a bit because you're still listening to the reactions, right? You're still getting all of these things happening, but you're at the same time adding a whole other level to it with the artistry, which is pretty cool.
And so, and people are like, "What do you mean art?" So tell everybody what it is that your photos are doing now. Because they're getting just art, right?
Pardon?
I said they're becoming actual art now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So they've been picked up quite a bit all over the nation, all over the world, pardon, as pieces of art that have gone into hospitals, that have gone into magazines, that have gone in, oh, I'm going to get emotional. They've gone into all kinds of things. They've been picked up. At this point, there's a handful of images that I continuously feed the company more images as they request them. for whatever purposes. It could be, like, for example, one of them is a picture of a mom nursing her baby, but it's cut off, and so all you see is the arm and the baby and the mom's lips like smiling down at her baby. And that picture has been picked up and published internationally. I think we're at 42 times now in different nursing clinics and different hospitals and different nursing magazines, just that one by itself. And then there's all these other ones that keep going all these crazy places. And so they're getting around the world. I would love at some point to like know where everything is, but I'm not certain it's going to be possible to figure it all out because it's outsourced. But yeah, it's wild.
So this is the part of the show, and we'll go a little bit longer because we came on a little bit late. Where I turn it around and I go, if someone were to come to you, whether that's in the business as a photographer or just as another woman or someone coming up, and they're like looking about your journey and everything that you've gone through to get to this point, because, you know, obviously, as you said, there's all these roller coasters we go through, and there's really taking that leap of faith and trusting that we're on our correct path. What would be 3 pieces of tangible advice you could give them moving forward in their own journey?
Okay. Provided they've already found their passion. The first piece of advice I'm going to give to people, women, men, anybody, is believe in it. If something is lighting you up and tickling your soul, like I'm sitting here, right, doing all this neuroscience research and everything's great, and I'm being called, go take a photo, go do this, take a break, and it just kept coming at me. If you're aware of your passion, or maybe if you're not aware of your passion, but once your passion makes itself clear to you, pay attention to it, believe it. It is there. It is calling you for a reason, and that reason will affect the world somehow. If you're sitting there, you know, I don't want to take away anybody's passion for their job, but if you're sitting there doing something that you don't necessarily love, let's just say that, and you know that you have a passion, and it could be knitting baby socks. That could be your passion. It could be absolutely what you will change the world if you stop what you're doing and put all your energy into that, because it's something that people need, that good energy and that love infused into that, I believe. And it changes the dynamic of the business itself, because it's coming from your heart, right? Mm-hmm. A second piece of advice, let's see, I would give to people is get organized. That's, you know, we have the emotional answer, which is follow your heart and trust it. But get organized. That's a really big deal. And the third piece of advice that I think is really, 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 really important, might be the most important, is have a mentor, at least one. Have somebody that knows what you're doing, have somebody that has done what you're doing, have somebody that believes in what you're doing. My mentor is one of my most favorite humans on the planet, and I call him my second dad, and I go to him for everything. Any questions I have about the business, any questions I have about life in general, because you become that close, and he's always there. He always has an answer. He always has at least some words of wisdom. And knowing it's almost like, you know, as kids, we have a parent that kind of directs us, hopefully, you know, and they kind of show us the right way. And once we become adults, you know, our parents are like, oh, you're a grown up now. Get a mentor. It's kind of like your business parent. And they're going to teach you, and they're going to show you things. And they're going to teach you shortcuts, and they're going to have tips and advice for you. So I say, get a killer mentor.
Amen.
Yeah.
Tim says, "Oh, love her emotion and her passion." I'm so excited. Okay, so you're talking about like doing when you're steeped in your purpose, right? You always do like, you know, what you're supposed to be doing. So here's why I do this show. And it's funny because it's a man that's saying this. And normally it's like I do it for the one woman, but I've realized like everybody needs to hear somebody else's story. So he goes, I needed to hear that.
Oh, good. Good, Tim.
That for me is one of the most amazing things when you can come across the person's like, listen, I just needed your presence. Like your presence did something for me.
Good.
And I love that. I feel like that's probably what you do for like a million people. You know? And then you're passionate. Yes, I think when we all come from a place of passion and also a place of getting paid for our passion.
Yes, that's the bonus. It's so nice.
Well, that's how we change the world, right? I don't know many people who are in entrepreneurship. They're like, I just got into it for the money, and the time freedom right off the bat.
Right.
And also, I like you talk about really actually finding your passion, because a lot of people are in it thinking like that's their passion, and really it's like, this is what I have to do because this is how I'm going to make money. And
right.
Angela keeps reminding me of that. Like, you keep looking at it from I need to do this because this is going to potentially make a successful business versus like, oh, what do you really want?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What do you really, that's the thing.
Sometimes we need that, right? And then Tim says, thank you. You are very welcome, man.
You're welcome, Tim.
Tim, one of Tim's passions, because I've known Tim for a long time, back in my personal trainer, gym general managing days.
Nice.
One of my one mini hats. Tim was also a personal trainer at one of the other gyms of the chain that I helped run, and his passion that I knew of at the time was downhill skateboarding. So like long boards and that's what Tim likes to do, and I think now it's also expensive car racing. So
Tim, I did a longboard downhill race one time and fell and completely messed up my face for a solid few months. So I never did that again. So good on you that you kept going, because I know that's not an easy sport.
I was like, I'm sitting here, as soon as you said, I'm like, this doesn't sound like this is going to end well.
No.
I skateboarded a few times when I was in 9th grade, you guys, and it's like every time it's like, oh, this is going to end good or it's going to end really bad. And just so you guys know, the skateboard went that way and my ankle went that way, this way. So I didn't do that anymore. And in fact, my mom's like, so you going to do that again?
Nope.
You going to go out there and do that again? Might. Okay, so looking back on your journey, what is the greatest thing or things, your choice, that you've learned? And just know this is the first time I've actually felt called to ask this question. But what is the greatest thing or things that you've learned in this journey?
I'm going to show you. How about that? Can you read? I hope you can read this correctly.
I can't see because I'm half blind, but you might just want to.
It says, actually, you can. And that's a gift from a client of mine. She just gave it to me a couple of weeks ago at a photo shoot of hers. And I think that is my biggest thing. And it sounds cliche, but I can sit here and say, no, I can do that. Whatever it is, I can do it. If it's in this business, I definitely can do it. I think that's the biggest thing. Any doubts that I had in the beginning, especially that when that lady didn't pay that for that wedding, and I was like, oh my gosh, learning over the entire journey, it has been, actually, I can do this. There's no I can't.
I think we often find that when we get to that point of, yes, I can do this, it's because we've managed to overcome the I can't so many times. We're just like, all right, you know what? That's be all right. Be all right.
I'll tell you this, and I did a live feed last night for my company as well, and one of my biggest things, one of the things that I shared on there, and I'll share here as well, is whenever my children were little and they would say I can't, I would have them write on paper the words I can't, and then I would have them circle it, and I'd have them cross it out. And it became, there are plenty of swear words, right? But I can't became the swear word, where I didn't want to hear it. I didn't, if you can't do it a certain way, let's figure out a different way to do it. Or let's not make I can't something that we say. And that's been a pretty valuable lesson. They don't say that now. You know, they're older. They don't say that often, I should say. And I'll remind them, if they say I can't, you go write that on that whiteboard over there and circle it and cross it out, because it's not something that we're actually going to live by.
I love that. And Tim says, oh my God, so sorry to hear that. Full face helmet.
Yeah, I needed one. I was 15 and very ambitious.
And, you know, maybe a wrong line of, you know, work at the time. Like maybe.
Right.
That's the universe going, listen, you're meant for other things besides being the future, you know, maybe, well, not Tony Hawk, because that's just skateboarding, but, you know, whatever long hill riders there are that are, you know, super awesome. So you're not going to be the next Tim Lovick there, you know. Okay, though. That's not your path.
Right.
It's not your path. It's okay. All right. So we are at the coming to the end of this. So this is the part where you get to tell everybody about where they can find you. How can they connect with you? You are tagged in this, so of course they can find you on Facebook, but tell everybody about where you like to hang out and what is the best way to get a hold of you if they decide that they would love to have you as their photographer, which I have full plans for us to work together in the future. So.
Yes. I'm coming down there. I'm coming down there to see you. I'll photograph you down there. So my Facebook is Sass and Frass Photography. My Instagram is @Sass and Frass Photo. That's all spelled out, Sass and Frass Photo. I am on Twitter as well, but I don't use it that much. So, but if you're on there, you can find me. I will check it. Those are the two ways to get in touch with me. There's also a website, www.sassandfrassphoto.com. You can check out a little bit of my work there. A lot of the good. Most of the photos go on the Facebook page. A lot of them go on the Instagram page, and then a decent handful of them are on the website currently. But there's definitely a contact form on the website, and obviously ways to DM on Instagram and Facebook. So check me out.
Yay! All right. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I always, when I do these shows, I'll go back in my head and be like, you could have asked this, you would have done that. I'm like, no, he did just that. But in moving along, one of the things I've learned is that there's really so many ways to dive into somebody's story, and somebody can say something and you can pick out a million different questions, at least in my head. And so it's funny because I feel like talking to you, get to view people through these lens of looking at them through the photography and getting these stories, right? These stories that you see. And for me, that's the same way. So I always enjoy getting to see other people's life through their particular lens and getting to hear it out of their mouth. So
yeah.
It's always so exciting.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
I know, this really has. I'm really excited. So, and thank you guys so much. I want to touch one more time just on, and Sandy, since you're on here, maybe you can give just everybody a little piece of advice. I know we are all really stressed out. At least a lot of us are. You know, we're all living in a state of complete unknown at the moment. And, you know, we are at a pivotal, I like to think a pivotal shift in humanity right now. You know, and that I don't believe that is a bad thing, but at the same time, you know, it's also good to acknowledge that there's a lot of fear. So the beautiful thing is Sandy does yoga as well and has been instrumental as mine. So I recommended meditation to you guys, and I can't tell you enough what meditation does for me. Just the moment to release energy that's not yours and come back into your own body is a truly powerful thing to be grounded in that. So, but if there's anything you can add, because I think it's very important that we give you guys something that's going to help you move through some of the energy and potentially just get rid of energy that's not yours. So is there anything that you can give them as far as like a quick activity or something that's going to help them
Sure.
on anxiety that is not theirs?
Sure. You know, research your own breath work, what will work well for you as far as breathing goes. Breathing is a big help when it comes to calming the body down. If you're particularly panicked or fearful, a very, very, very simple yoga pose is a forward fold where you're hinging at your hips and you just literally fold over, and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that system in particular tells us that we are calm and we are safe. And so through all of this, if you take just a couple of seconds a day to forward fold and remind yourself that you are safe and that you're okay. And then find some breath work, find some meditation. My particularly favorite current meditation app is called Waking Up, and I highly suggest it. The gentleman that does it is very, very good at explaining how to meditate and also leaving you time to meditate instead of talking through the entire thing. So it's called Waking Up is the app, and it's one of the ones that I use, and I got my sister into it and she loves it as well. So take a peek. It's really good for beginners, and it's also good for advanced meditators. So all over.
I'll recommend one too. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Sandy, but it's called Tuition.
Oh no, send that to me.
Oh, it's very interesting. They combine like binaural beats and like, I don't know, it's just this, but it like have a 25-minute meditation with them, they said is equal to deep meditation for like 5 hours.
I need this. Need it.
But I like that.
Yeah.
5 hours and 25 minutes. My God, look at that. All right. Seriously, you talk about like just coming down really, really well. So I wanted to leave you guys with that because like everybody else, I feel it. I was telling Sandy before we got on here and before we get off, I work at Sam's during the day. I don't just coach. I make sweet, delicious treats at Sam's. And there's a lot, if a lot of you have been in the grocery store lately, there is that very panicked, oh my God, we're going to run out, which is a lot of the fear that I talk about. So I was on like supermarket spree, like going to get stuff because we literally sold through 2 pallets of toilet paper in 45 minutes. Like it's nuts. So getting to be able to come out of that, I came home and I realized that I was like, my mind was racing and I was having these really like gloomy views on stuff, and I'm going, what in the hell is going on with me? And so you guys, I really had to come to that place of bringing myself back down. I'm like, man, I know there's a lot of people going with that, so I really wanted to make sure that on top of this, with the episodes going forward, we give you something, because we're all feeling similar in some capacity, so we give you something that's going to help you move through that, because at the end of the day, you guys, we have to keep moving. Like, no matter what anything looks like, we cannot quit. Like, yes, you can. Like, absolutely.
Actually, you can. That's right.
Actually, you can, you guys, and it is going to be okay.
Yes.
Okay, you guys. All right, so I will see you guys next Tuesday, and also just look for it in the next couple weeks. You guys, I'm going to be releasing information, actually within the next week, about the panel shows. So I'm really excited. So Tuesdays will be, oh my gosh, I'm like, I don't even know what that's going to look like yet, but I'm just real excited. So Tuesdays will be panel shows, you guys, and then Thursdays will be story highlights. So what that means is we'll just have one woman on. So I'm really excited. We're going to just be the next online, like Red Table Talk or something, just have. Yeah. All right. So everybody, I hope you guys have an awesome night. If anything that you take from this time, this social distancing and forced time at home, is time to get quiet, you guys. Time to get quiet with yourself and really go within. Everybody talks about doing the personal development, but you guys, the most personal development you can do is going inside and having a conversation or just listening to yourself. Like, truly, just like listen to yourself. Okay. All right, you guys. So I will see you guys next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, make sure you guys click get reminder on the broadcast so you don't forget or don't miss another episode. All right. So lots of love to you guys. Thank you. And thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Bye, girl.